What is your, this person has no idea how the real world works moment? A friend of mine saw a guy getting arrested in college. Kid was struggling and cussing out the cops like crazy. Do you know who my father is? A cop humored him and asked. He owns the #1 used car dealership in upstate New York. We were in Massachusetts. They were unimpressed by his legacy and took him in. Edit, I do not know any used car dealers in upstate New York, and this was 1995. Guy sold his rent-a-center TV and couldn't understand why they threatened to charge him for theft. Don't even rent TVs, period. If you can't afford a TV, you probably have more important things to deal with. First day at college, girl next to me raising her hand and waiting for the RA to call on her asks, what time will the cleaning services be cleaning our rooms? Man, did she make me feel better. I was poor and got a scholarship. I was so stressed I'd do something stupid first, but she totally jumped on that fire for me. Someone I know bought a house and expected Wi-Fi to be included with the house. Edit, it was a house, not apartment including these kind of facilities. Also, she meant not only Wi-Fi signal, but also the internet service. My uncle raised his 2 kids in Hong Kong by forbidding them from watching any TV, take public transportation, or being out by themselves at any time. They spend their days at an English-only international school, then come home after school and read English books. One day we had a family gathering, very rare because apparently Chinese food is not good for them, and I realized that these kids are raised in Hong Kong but they speak no Chinese. They don't know how to use public transportation. They have no friends. They are uninformed about what's happening in the world outside of their school and their home, and they are just really uncomfortable around people in general. They turn 18 this year. These 2 kids have no idea how the outside world is like. Edit, I should clarify, every person involved in this story is native Hong Kong Chinese. When parents use North Korea as inspiration for parenting techniques. Met a guy at university who thought Chinese people would be unaffected by the rise of superbugs, because they were too smart to fall victim to it. Both a pharmacy student and a Chinese person could not convince him otherwise. Had a woman call into work, banking, and ask for her mortgage payoff. It was like $40,000-ish. She said there was no way that was right because her payment book only had 3 more coupons in it, and she thought it was done when the coupons were. She couldn't comprehend that she had a 30-year mortgage, and that she didn't get a coupon book for all 30 years. She only got 3 years at a time, and because she had an adjustable rate. I had to call backups to explain to her that she still owed 27 more years. Edit to at, location, rural Pennsylvania. Probably a tiny home that needs work. 40,000 is possible in this area still. Coupon books tell you when your payment is due and what amount, if you don't bank online or want to mail a payment in. Amish and old folks still don't use internet here as a norm. 40,000 for 27 more years? Sweet Jesus, that's nothing. Roughly $150 to $175 a month. I'd cry tears of joy. My cousin and I were talking one day, and I mentioned that I had a horrible sense of direction, where my brother could be dropped off in a cornfield and find his way home. She replied that it was easy to find your direction. Just remember, never eat shredded wheat, and you will know where north is. I laughed and said, that was for remembering the directions in order, not for finding which way was which. We argued for 20 minutes till I told her to show me how it works. She stands up and points forward and says, never eat shredded wheat, and points to the direction she was facing when she stood up. That's north. So I told her to face me and then find north. She does it again. Never eat shredded wheat, and points at me and says, that's north. So, asked her if north just changed. She says no. But north was that way a minute ago. She looks confused and says, why didn't that work? I told her it was because she was an idiot. Got into a fender bender in high school. I was driving a car that cost me $300, had been sitting on concrete blocks at a cousin's, patched it and bought wheel sand. I was absolutely devastated. The kid who hit me wasn't freaking out at all, and kept saying his dad would get him another one. Why was I so worried about an old car? Once the dad got there, it turned out this is the third car his kid had wrecked for that school year. My brother wanted to be a game designer. I asked how that was going and what he had been doing. Mom had gone to Walmart to pick up some art supplies so he could get designing. He did not really know what coding was in terms of game design and did not know graphic design. He thought he could simply just draw up some swords and guns and shields and someone would pay him to do this for a living. With zero experience. He's almost 30. While reading this, I was thinking, that's cute. He sounds like my son. Then I got to the end. My son is 6. Air Force. 18-year-old arrives at his first duty station. He has contacted nobody. Nobody knows he is arriving today. He has figured out by stopping at different offices and asking where our warehouse is, and enters the office to meet his supervision, flanked by his girlfriend and his mother. Later on, it is discovered that he fudged his numbers on all his previous fitness tests to that point, which is why he could barely do 25 push-ups and couldn't run to save his life. Even later on, becomes hysterical, sobbing, panicking, begging and pleading when told he will deploy to Afghanistan. Like everyone else in the squadron had been doing, for years. This was 2012. We were logistics. We literally loaded airplanes all day. A guy turned up day one of my basic training, claimed he'd made a mistake, refused his uniform and cried for like 2 hours straight. They let him go as unfit for army service, which is probably a load better for them than having the guy whinging about for the mandatory 28 days before you can leave. This is the kind of guy who shows up at parties and talks about his time in the service. My sister-in-law got in an argument with her brother/my husband and me, stopped speaking to us, blocked us on Facebook, and then threatened to sue us for visitation rights to our 6-month-old. Went to a metal music festival with a friend and camped there. We had just woken up, and she pulls out her hair straightener and asks where the outlets were. When I told her that there are no outlets on the camping grounds, she looked at me in horror and said, "So I won't be able to straighten my hair for 3 days." Stewarding at a festival at the gate, check a punter who's turned up at the main gate with a camper van ticket. He goes through, then comes back to ask where he goes to pick up his camper van. Had to very gently explain to him that you are supposed to bring your own. Then we lent him a tent that we didn't get back. I'm attending grad school in Barcelona, and there are these 2 Colombian girls in my class who I'm pretty sure have never had to work for anything in life. We just had our first final the other day, and while the test was hard, I thought it was pretty straightforward. It was essay type questions, and you needed to draw on things we discussed in class to answer each question. A few minutes into the exam, one of the girl raises her hand and says she doesn't know what to do. Fair enough, the professor tells her to use class theories to answer the question asked. She then said that she doesn't know how to relate any class theories to the question. I was literally sitting there, having already answered one question having used 4 or 5 different class topics to answer it. I couldn't understand why she was having such a hard time. The other Colombian girl then says, "Can you just write on the board which theories you want us to use to answer?" She basically asked the professor of a grad school class to answer a question for her. The professor then goes a bit too far in my opinion and gives her a few clues. 20 minutes later, she raises her hand and once again asks, "Can you read what I wrote and tell me if I'm right or should I do it again?" I was stunned to how many people after school just expect to instantly get hired to a great position with great money. I met my classmate 3 years later, still jobless saying, "Lol, I finished school, I won't accept job under XX dollars, am I crazy?" I knew he had no idea how anything works. Dude, I know a guy who was doing his placement year at university, never worked in the industry before, and he refused to apply for jobs that didn't pay him over XX amount. But the only jobs that would pay him that much were a few hours away. Long story short, he didn't get many interviews for posts, and the ones he did, he couldn't afford to attend the interview, because, poor student. He ended up dropping out because he couldn't fulfill the requirements of the course. Fellow college student, I don't understand why other students keep looking for free food. If they really need more money, Why don't they just get more student loans? I had to explain to him that, at some point, they stopped giving you student loans. Also that not everyone had parents who were willing/able to support their children, and that even if you did pull out more loans, then that's more money you have to pay back after university comparative to your expected entry-level pay scheduled in your field. I decided to leave my ex while we were in college, when he took out student loan after student loan, and proceeded to buy a car, a big ass TV, constantly going out to eat. Out of money? Time for another loan. Whatever, I'm not gonna commit long term with you and struggle to pay this money back in the future. Smart move. A friend of mine decided to quit his job to become a Twitch streamer. Right off the bat I thought this was a stupid plan. But the real kicker was his timeline for his streaming career. He told me he saved enough money to pay his bills for 1 month. 1 month. And after that he would be making enough money from Twitch to pay his bills. He seriously believed that after 1 month he would have between 200 and 300 subs. He refused to advise or use any social media. He won't play any AAA games or even popular games. A year and a half later, he's lost his apartment, his car, basically everything but his girlfriend, who he lives with. But hey, he just hit 50 followers on Twitch and got affiliated. To him this endeavor has been a total success. Edit. 50 followers, not subscribers, got them mixed up. Someone at work asked if she needed to pay to use the microwave. She decided it was too complicated to use, and bought a $150 thermal lunchbox, so she can take food that was cooked by her hired chef to work without needing to reheat it. Edit. To answer some common questions, she's a 30-year-old heiress working her first job trying to be independent. Her parents are covering all her expenses. I wouldn't let anyone who doesn't know how to use a microwave out in public unsupervised. See, what you should have done with her first question was say, yes, it's $200 for the year. I'll take it for you. Oh, and I'll show you how to use it, since you've paid. I told my friend that I was saving up to get my bathroom remodeled, and she said to me, what, still? It's been 2 months. Yes dear, but I have to pay my bills/mortgage/travel/food/whatever else I may need. She lives at home with her parents still, and doesn't have to pay any bills/rent to stay there. She's in for a shock when she moves out. Former barista here. A customer came through drive-thru one afternoon, ordering a custom drink that cost about $5. While on the phone, he dug change out of the corners of his van, and handed me what amounted to less than $3. I continued looking at him with my hand extended, half full of dirty coins, when he just shrugged and said, that's all I got. I repeated the total and said he hadn't given me enough. Can't you just spot me with your tips? Excuse me? First, no, that's literally my grocery money, and second, our company had a strict policy against doing just that. But, I simply apologized and said no, I couldn't do that. He blew up at me, saying I wasn't being very neighborly. I again apologized and explained how I relied on my tip money to, you know, eat. Instead he screamed at me again, you suck, you really suck, before driving away. Side note, it was a small town, and most people there don't know how the real world works. Was good friends with this girl in college. I knew she was spoiled, free reign of daddy's credit card, but it was never a big deal. After college she couldn't grasp why I couldn't spend the next 6 to 12 months backpacking through Europe with her, which she wanted to do because she didn't feel like getting a job yet. The idea that I had to get a job to support myself, and start paying back student loans was completely foreign to her. Her answer to everything was, have your parents pay for it. Sorry honey, that is not how the real world works.